Hey friend, I am still integrating very much so the magic of this past weekend, the kind of magic that lingers in your bones, that shifts something deep inside of you forever, that reminds you exactly why you're here. The Goddess of Light retreat in Mount Hood Village, Oregon that I just hosted was everything I dreamed it would be. Holding space for these women, guiding them through breath work, giving them Reiki, showing them how to do the triactive breath, witnessing their release, their breakthroughs, their softening into themselves, their vulnerability, their strength. It was a life-giving in the purest way. This work, this sacred alchemy of breath and energy and presence is everything I am here to do, and I cannot wait to do more of it. More retreats of my own, more collaborations, more moments of stepping into spaces where people are ready to open and to heal and to expand. And this is what I love about being in conversation with other creatives and leaders and visionaries, people who in their own ways are also carving out spaces for transformation, which brings me to today's guest. There is something sacred about the winding path we take to becoming who we're meant to be. And let me tell you about Tasha Hugh. There is something sacred about the winding path that we take to becoming who we're meant to be. The unexpected detours, the moments of service, the dreams we chase before realizing they were shaping us all along. Tasha Hugh's journey is one of resilience, curiosity, and deep creative leadership. From standing with people in their rawest moments to crafting worlds that inspire millions, she embodies what it means to lead with both heart and vision. Today, we dove into the soul of storytelling, the balance between pressure and joy, and what it means to expand our capacity to feel good in the midst of all of the opportunities that come to us when we just say yes. Tasha is so wonderful. She is so humble, even though she is so successful. She is so grounded, even though she is flying in life right now. And she seems to have such an ease to multitasking and enjoyment of it. And she's so authentic in her expression of the truth, of just, hey, this is how it is for me. And this is where I'm on in my journey. So let's begin.
The thing that I see is the biggest hurdle for creatives is just not doing it. Not taking I want to be a writer. Have you written? Have you written today?
What if I told you that the key to deep peace, healing, and clarity is already within you, just waiting to be unlocked? Welcome to Mountain Breathwork Infused with Reiki. This isn't just breathwork. This isn't just Reiki. It's a powerful, transformative experience. A journey into your own energy, your own breath, your own healing. Your first session right now is donation-based because I want you to feel it, to truly experience the shift. But here's where the magic happens. You'll release stress, stuck energy, and emotional weight that's been holding you back. You'll feel lighter, freer, and deeply connected to yourself, your intuition, and what really matters to you. You'll tap into clarity, creativity, and a profound sense of peace that carries into your daily life. And when you commit to the journey, a 10-session package for $1,011 takes you deeper, unlocking lasting transformation, breakthroughs, and expansion. Available over Zoom. Whether it's just you and a partner, so powerful, your family, so powerful, or just any small group that you're intimate with and you want to work with, you will be guided into a space of safety, release, and renewal. Hosting a retreat, I would love to bring this healing to your community. It's time. Give yourself a deep breath. Say yes to your expansion. Message me to book your first session today. Siri@sageandblushwellness.com. Check the show notes. Welcome to The Authentic Creative, expanding our capacity to feel good. I'm Siri Baruch Thornton, a lifelong healer, teacher, and creative. My journey began in a yoga ashram in Boston and led me through the healing communities of Vermont to over 25 years in the film and TV industry. Along the way, I've learned from spiritual masters, explored meditation, clairvoyance, and embraced my role as a mountain breathwork teacher, Reiki Master of Masters, and Akashic teacher. This podcast is all about inspiring you to expand your capacity to feel good through conversations, tools, and practices that support your inner growth and creativity. So, whether you're seeking healing, transformation, or simply a deeper connection with yourself, join me as we explore what it means to live authentically, creatively, and in alignment with your highest self. Let's dive in. I'm really honored because I have a new friend here, Tasha, who I know through my husband, Jake Thornton. And Tasha is an incredible human. We were just having a really fun laugh because I said, I'm just going to love on you and love you up. And she was like, what did you say?
That makes me uncomfortable.
And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just be really abusive. And she was like,
and
oh, that's
what's
better.
Familiar. Yeah, that I know.
And I'm like, okay, you're already amazing. Like, this is so much fun authenticity happening here. Okay, so before becoming a professional screenwriter in 2014, Tasha Hyo, is that how I say it?
Hugh.
Got it.
Everyone says it differently.
Tasha Hyo ran a homeless shelter for addicts and felons on Skid Row. Studied history and literature at Oxford University. So is that Oxford University the one that's in London? Like outside London or
outside London?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, we were just there.
Oh, it's so awesome there.
I love it. And there's like a show now that's on TV that's all based there. Okay, we'll get into it, but she considered joining the Marines so she could fly F-14s like Maverick. That's psychically, mystically so crazy because I just finished a breathwork session like an hour ago with my facilitator, and he was playing the song from Top Gun and is talking about being Mavericks. Okay, that's crazy.
That's interesting.
And you worked in development at Universal Pictures. Tasha is currently EP/showrunner on Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft for Netflix, and The Mighty Nine. Is that how I say it?
Mighty Nine, like the German.
Nine.
Yeah.
Nine. The Mighty Nine for Amazon Studios, an hour-long adult animated series based on a story by Critical Role in the world of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's it. That's me.
She is also writing an animated horror anthology series for Disney Plus and a feature for Riot Games. Her other credits include the live-action feature adaptation of Naruto for Lionsgate, Red Sonja for Millennium, and Witcher: Blood Origin for Netflix. So, Tasha, your journey from running a homeless shelter to becoming a showrunner and writer for major studios is so incredible. How have those diverse life experiences shaped your creativity and the way that you lead your projects?
That's a really great question. It's interesting because I feel like in our business, and I'm sure in many businesses, but this being a creative business, I think is particularly interesting that many people, they go to film school and then they come out to LA and they try to be screenwriters. And I did that and then totally pivoted because of various life things and have since led a life that is like very diverse and interesting and a lot of ups and downs and just sort of interesting, I guess, adversity and shades of life that I never would have experienced had I gone that sort of traditional route. And I do think it has allowed me to kind of access. I'm not going to say people who don't live this life and just go to film school can't do this, but for me personally, it has allowed me to access, I think, an emotional well that I'm able to pull from and being able to be in different perspectives, I think, in a way that I've seen other writers maybe struggle with sometimes. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I am very much a proponent of, sort of adversity, being able to survive adversity, and it makes you a stronger person. And I read once that that is a very American idea, and I'm still wrestling with if that's true or not. It feels like a human thing, but
Yeah, I think it's a human thing, is I would say is my opinion on that. You have a podcast,
I do. I have a screenwriting podcast. Yeah.
which we didn't
Um,
include in the bio here, but I listened to a couple episodes of your incredible podcast,
Thank you.
which I just wanted to keep binging and haven't had a chance to get back to it, but it's so good. And
Thank you.
you're welcome. It's good because your voice is dropped in, you're authentic, you share transparently, and the guy that you work with, you have a wonderful chemistry with each other and a playfulness, and you both have these like hearts of service, which I think is really what makes it so enjoyable. Is you truly are giving so much of yourselves. You truly want to help other writers. You truly see the struggle, understand the struggle, have been there, done that, and like have the success now, but are still reaching back and saying like, let me show you what I learned, what I did wrong, what I did right, like what I'm still learning, how the business is changing and adapting, and like how you can kind of change and adapt in like ways that, you maybe wish you had done something differently, or hey, this is my experience, but you could do it this way. And there's like 1,000 roads to being a writer. There's no like one rule book. And so I think that if you're interested, listener here, if you're interested in, for any reason, in the world of screenwriting, that it would really serve you. I'll put the link in the show notes for your podcast. It's just a wonderful conversation that you're having. So thank you for doing
Thank you.
that work of service. You're continuing to give back in that way. Yeah, so I think that's so fascinating that you have this real life experience of kind of all different ways of diversity and economic backgrounds that you've helped, that are, you say, informing the work that you do. So I want to just go back to, where did you grow up? What was childhood like? I mean, I know that's a huge question, but maybe we can just nutshell it a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Orange County, California, which is about an hour south of Los Angeles, if you don't know the area, which is totally you grow up there not knowing anything about LA, even though it's only an hour away. It's just they're two completely separate worlds. I would say it's a very white world. It's a very, at least the area I was in, which is more South Orange County, it was a very upper middle class to wealthy white area. And so it was my mom's dream to send me to private school, and she was able to work her ass off to make that happen. And so I ended up in an even, I think, like wider community and richer community. Um, but it was interesting because I was like the only brown person in my school growing up. Um, that's a lie. There were three of us of various shades. But that definitely informed, because you kind of get the, at this point, kind of cliche or, experience as I'm half Chinese, of, people making fun of your name or your culture, or I also like grew up chubby. And so it was a lot of like the fat shaming that comes with that, especially at a younger age for girls in particular. But it was also this really interesting place because, and when you talk about where I grew up, for some reason I mostly go to high school and middle school, which is the experience that I'm talking about here, because it just feels the most formative.
Yeah.
And I happened to go to school just down the street from a horse stables, which is where I also grew up. So we had horses. It was also my mom's dream to have horses. So when I was 10, I got my first horse, and she had a
Wow.
horse, my dad had a horse, and our stables was just down the street. So it was this weird, like, I didn't feel comfortable at school, but I loved school. I loved learning. It was like one of my favorite things. I'm a huge nerd. Every time there was summer, I was like, when can I go back to school?
Oh, that's
But
so cool.
yeah, I just love it. But also, right next door, my trainer would literally come to school to pick me up on a horse, and I'd like ride back with her.
Hey, we're going to pause here for just a moment. What's the thing that's never getting better? The thing that keeps you up at night? The loop you can't seem to break free from? Bring it to our Akashic record reading session. This isn't just a reading, it's a sacred conversation with your soul. with your team, your master's teachers and loved ones and guides. A place where the deepest parts of you are seen, heard, and understood. What happens in a session? You receive the clarity you've been searching for. You get the validation for what you've been feeling but couldn't quite name. You experience an energy clearing, releasing lower vibrational and stuck emotions so you can move forward lighter, freer, and more aligned. What if the answers you've been seeking are already waiting for you? In this space, you can finally breathe, release, and receive the relief you've been craving. One session or a package are available over Zoom from anywhere in the world. It's time to lift the weight off your heart. Say yes to clarity. Say yes to relief. Message me to book your Akashic Record reading today. Link in the show notes. And we're back.
Pick me up on a horse and I'd like ride back with her. And
What?
and like the rest, it was like in the middle of the city too. If you know Orange County, it's like, what?
That's insane.
It was so fun. And so I grew up there as well. So I had these kind of two experiences of growing up that were very, very different, two completely different sets of friends with different sets of values. So
What
that
were
was
the
really
friend
cool.
groups? What was one of them were like the kids who really were into studying and the other were like horse people or
Yeah, pretty much. Like I gravitated towards the nerds in actual school. And then when it came to the stables, what was interesting is you sort of didn't know what friend group people were in at school. So they could have been the jock, they could have been, the prom queen, or they could have been the nerd. And it just sort of didn't matter. We were all connected by this like similar love for a sport or like horses and the sort of life that you lead around that. And it was a huge part of my life all through middle school and high school. I would go and compete, and well, it was great. So it was its own separate little mini culture.
were you, thank you for sharing all of that vulnerably. Were you a writer from the beginning? I imagine you've always written and that you always had like a propensity towards it and that it was something that you enjoyed. And did you think that I'll be a famous writer one day, I'll work in Hollywood, I'll do TV shows? Like, when did that start to come into your thinking?
Not till very late. I knew I loved writing at a pretty early age. I say around like 8 years old. I don't know exactly, but it came from my grandmother, whose godmother was a famous journalist. She was, really ahead of her time. One of the first sports journalists in Los Angeles. She, went up to Hearst Castle and knew all of the celebrities there. Was sort of in on that crowd and was just this really forward-thinking woman that my grandma really, really admired growing up. And my grandma wanted to be a writer, and I don't think she had either the life that allowed that or the discipline to do so. But she would talk about it like it was the most incredible job that a human could ever have. And it would just fill
Wow.
you with richness. And I remember being really fascinated by that idea because I didn't really realize you could write. Like I knew there were books, but like I didn't get that was like a thing a person could do with their life. And so I started writing just on my own as a kid. I remember at first it was, you just copycat things that you love.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like the first story I wrote was actually a really problematic story because I'd just been like really, really obsessed with this movie called Bad Girls, which is a Western starring Drew Barrymore. And the premise is not something that probably, a 10-year-old should be watching, but it was these women
I
who are
remember it.
you do who are
Yeah.
prostitutes in the old west. One of their friends
Yeah.
gets hurt or kidnapped and they go after them with guns. I love that movie so much, but I was so young that I like they use the word horror in it and I spelled it HORROR because I didn't know what a whore was. So I was that young, but like
Yeah.
I wrote a story about like rape and rescuing them and like horror, and my mom was like, we need to talk. Is like, are you okay? What has been going on? But it's just because I was like mimicking because that story had affected me
Yeah.
so much. I wanted to write something that affected someone that much.
Yeah.
Um, and I also really loved history. So what I actually wanted to do originally was write historical novels, and that's what I went to school for. I studied
Oh,
creative
wow.
writing. I studied history. When
Where
I
did
went
you
to
study
Oxford, I
that?
did
Oh,
that.
yeah, Oxford. That's right.
Yeah, it was Oxford, and then I also went to Mills College up in Oakland, which is an all-women's school.
So this
Uh,
has given you more perspective being at Oxford.
yes, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
because yeah, and I also studied American history at Oxford just because why not? That's such an interesting perspective to do it from the colonizer,
Wow.
which was also so fascinating.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. But to answer your question, it was actually in a history class. I was studying history through film as part of my degree in history. And the professor would show us things like Gladiator,
Uh-huh.
and the historical part of the class was break down what the thesis statement is of this director or of this movie based
Mm-hmm.
on pick a scene, for example. This is the most memorative assignment that I had. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
picking a scene in Gladiator, and the way that Ridley Scott blocks that scene, the way the music plays, literally every single aspect of filmmaking tells its own mini story that directs you to exactly how he wants you to feel about something. And I was like, holy, something happened to me there where it's like, it's not books, it's this. Whatever this is making me feel is what I want to do. Because you talked about service with the Act Two podcast that I have. I think that's part of what I always wanted was I wanted to write historical novels that helped people see the world in a different way or help them see through their grief or their pain or see a different perspective. That was always my goal with my work. And to see that Gladiator could do that in this almost like insidious is the wrong word because that's obviously has a negative connotation, but this like really sneaky subconscious way, like that's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating. So that set me on a fast track to just teach myself screenwriting. And then I went to Boston University to get my MFA in that. And so I studied there for a while.
Oh, yeah. I was born just outside Boston.
No way.
Yeah, Dorchester.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's super
You
close.
don't, you probably don't know this, but maybe you do, do you happen to know your human design?
No.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Yes,
But
please.
but my husband Jake is as a screenwriter, what's called a projector. And I was like, what you're describing sounds like a projector. So I'll be fascinated to look at your chart later and see
Yes.
if my
Me
hypothesis is
too.
correct. But the projector is someone who can zoom out and has that perspective and can see where things can be more efficient and to create effective results in that way. They make really good directors. Do you
Interesting.
want to direct at some point? Have you done that yet?
You know, I never did. I had to do it in college just as part of the coursework, but I was like, I'm a writer. That's just who I am. That's how I define myself. I don't really like to be on set. But then I remember speaking to a mentor of mine, another woman who was much older in her career. She'd done a ton of movies, and she's like, Tasha, you want to direct? I was like, no, I don't know if I do. She's like, no, you do, because I have. She wishes she had done that as well, because she said, I
Mm,
define myself as a writer. But
mm,
you find that people take your work from you and
yeah,
they turn it into something else and you
yeah,
suddenly start to lose control of the very thing we're talking about, right? Like the
yes,
message, the thing that inspired me to write the thing to begin with is
yeah,
watered down or now it's someone else's perspective. So it's not
yes.
necessarily about control, it's just about, that creative center,
The
I
vision
guess.
that you want to
Yeah.
have the vision like crystal clear come all the way through to the end to the audience. In order to do that, it just behooves you to have the option of directing it if and when you can, right? Like so
Yeah.
that vision. So being a showrunner
Yeah.
is different than being a writer. So for
Yes.
people who don't know what these differences are and what a showrunner does, because I even growing up in the industry, I didn't necessarily understand what a showrunner was until Jake kind of started talking about it. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Yeah, showrunner is someone who they might not even necessarily write the pilot of the show or really like you won't maybe even see their name on a lot of the episodes. So like Breaking Bad was Vince Gilligan, but you don't see his name on every episode. But I guarantee you he had a very heavy hand in each episode. So showrunner, for me personally, what I've done is I would pitch a show or I'd write the pilot and then I would run the room. So you get writers together who are brilliant and you guide the writers room, this group of writers through anywhere from 10 weeks, 20 weeks, 40 weeks, whatever it takes to create your story or the budget that they give you will
Mm-hmm.
afford, and you help direct them to the best show. But you're using these writers as for their amazing brains, their amazing tool. Because I was told at one point for animation, which is what Tomb Raider is, especially shorter animation, they're like, oh, typically it's just done by one person, so we expect you to write everything. And while my ego was like, yes, the rest of me was like, no, the best ideas are going to come from me arguing with someone across the table who has a different idea or who has a different experience. And so it became very important that there were multiple points of view in a room. So that's what a writer's room is. And you're guiding that as the showrunner because you have the central vision for what the show is. And you can kind of know with your gut, yes, that works, yes, or no, that doesn't work. And then eventually you carve out a TV show. And then once the writing is done as a showrunner, you basically function as sort of you're not the director. You're not directing the scenes the way that Steven Spielberg is, but you're kind of director of the whole production, right? You're on set. You're being asked, is this car blue or is it red? What clothes should they be wearing when they walk across the scene? What should they be feeling? Like you're doing all the jobs, right? And you're directing an amazing team who's going out and performing them. So that was also when I realized, like, oh, I could direct, I think. And I think what's interesting, something that I learned was that it made I don't like saying this, but it may be a kind of gender thing, because I've talked to a lot of women who were absolutely capable, experienced human beings as showrunners and writers, and they felt like, I don't want to direct. I'm a writer. I don't want to direct. I don't feel, and when you get down to it, it's because they didn't feel ready to direct. They felt like, I need more experience, or I need to know more things about cameras. There's always another thing they needed to know more of, because women tend to, as a very big generalization, feel like they need to know everything and it's perfect before they can go do the thing. Whereas a lot of men I have seen do the opposite. They're like, I don't have the qualifications, but I have the confidence and I have, the vision. I'm going to go fucking do this thing. And so the more I realize that, like, I may be falling into a pattern that's so subconscious I don't even realize it, I've convinced myself that I need to direct at least once to see if it is genuinely something I like. I'm just afraid of.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. I love your self-reflection on that. And yeah, you're right. Like in general, women tend to be caretakers and literally like gonna run the show from behind the scenes. And men tend to be more adept at giving direction, being decisive, saying, you go there, you go here, I'm running the show. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because your passion and what you care about is story, and that is really what needs to matter. And I think that's what's important, is that the people who care about the integrity of the story be in positions where they're making decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we need more of that. And yes, women, we need more women always.
We need more
Always,
women.
always we need more women. Always we need more diversity. So, okay. You're currently leading high profile productions for Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus. How do you stay connected to joy and inspiration while balancing the pressures of these creative endeavors? I mean, are you doing all three of these at once?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
how is this humanly possible? Is anyone else doing this?
I don't know. I know that I am
Well, I want to learn from you. I mean, how's this capacity happening?
I'm very good at multitasking. I think I
Okay.
kind of always have been big on organization, big on multitasking. And so I was just talking to someone today, another writer, who's like, I can only focus on one project at a time. And you just said three things. I have six things that I'm working on at once. And they vary from a movie set in a crazy world to a book adaptation that's set in our world, to like they're like all over the map is the point. And I think I'm very good at shutting one off and tuning into another. But that being said, I think TV has taught me how to do that better. So it's not just like I magically am this person. It's a lot of experiences along the way have taught me how to juggle multiple things at once. And know when that can take half my brain, but this needs to take my full brain. Therefore, it needs to move here in the day, and this can move, down here in the day. And I'm very good at focusing on the thing that's in front of me, and because I've worked very hard on this, to not be overwhelmed by the whole and just think about what can I do now, and then that's done. What can I do now? That's done, and that helps me get through the things without feeling. I feel overwhelmed. I'm going to stop I do feel overwhelmed. But it's a joy. It is, like you said, because my whole life, since I was 8 writing those terrible stories, I wanted to do this job. And now I'm gifted with the ability to tell so many awesome stories that I do take them on because I'm just so thrilled, like a kid, to be able to play in these playgrounds. So there's joy because I love the job, I think.
Yeah, and so the tagline for this podcast is expanding our capacity to feel good. And does it feel, you said it, you're overwhelmed, but there's joy. So it sounds like what you're saying is that what I hear is like, just keep saying yes to the things that light you up and just do the one next step in front of you. Shut off or put on the back burner the thing that's not priority. Fully focus, be present, be in the moment, bring your whole self to wherever you are, and then worry, and then not worry, but like, and then that was a Freudian slip, worry.
Yeah.
No, that's my issue. And then focus on what's next, and
Yeah.
that's what makes you a good showrunner. Is that ability. So how do you, and maybe you don't, because some people say, well, I'm not into self-care, but like,
Yeah.
as an authentic, you're clearly a creative in the biggest sense of the word, and you're clearly in your joy and your passion. How do you take care of yourself with all of this?
This is this is the golden question, right? And something I've struggled with for a really long time, and I think kind of had a breakthrough recently on how I understand self-care, because I think, when I think of self-care, I think it's me in a bathtub with like a mask on and like cucumbers in my eyes or something. And
Yes.
like having been there, like that's not my happy. That doesn't bring me any sort of lasting anything, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and everyone's different, right? But for me, I think what I've learned recently, like literally last month, I like was able to articulate it. So, this is how long I've been working on it, is that self-care for me is just health. So
Mm.
and whatever is related to that. So if it's like, if I need to eat a salad today or get my vegetables in, that's self-care. If I need to go, I don't know, go to the gym, or if I need to say no to that project because it's going to stress me the fuck out, then that's helping my health in some way. Um, and it's thinking about the long term, because the life that I want to lead is one that's very long, with my husband doing very specific things. We want to travel, we want to see the world, we want to, live these amazing,
What? Okay,
breatheful
tell me,
lives.
like, just to stop you for 1 second. Tell
Yeah.
me, like, what's the top of your bucket list for that travel?
So the weird thing is, like, the answer is living in London, because have visited many
Okay,
times, but like the travel is somehow finding a world where my life is
you were
mostly
living in
there.
Oxford, right?
Yes, and that was like one of the happiest years of my life. There's something
Got it.
about that country that just makes me feel at home, and I have not felt that way anywhere else.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So would you go back to Oxford and live there?
Having visited Oxford just last year, it's changed a lot since I was there. Um, so probably not. Something maybe near Oxford. It's very busy now. Like
Not as
Oxford used to be,
commercial. Yeah.
yeah, it
Hmm.
used to be this
Yeah.
like quiet, sleepy,
Yeah.
medieval
There's like a
town.
really modern mall that's
There
across
is.
from all the old buildings that we
It's
walked.
super
Yeah.
weird.
Hmm.
So something,
Yeah.
in a cottage somewhere
The
near it.
quintessential like backcountry-ish more. Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we toured around the Cotswolds last summer. And that
Amazing.
I was like, "Oh, is this a storybook that I'm in? Because
Uh-huh.
this is literally everything I expected it to be, with the thatched roofs and the beautiful swans and all of it. It's just
Hmm.
lovely. It's lovely."
It's so great.
So, okay, well, that's clearly possible. I mean, because with your talent, you can work anywhere you want to work,
I've
right?
been looking into it. Yep. They have artist visas you can get. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Well, that's an exciting adventure that I can't wait to hear what happens with that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so with your background in history, you touched upon, and literature, how do you draw from these influences to stay authentic and creative and fulfilled in your storytelling?
It's a really great question. The sad answer is I don't get to read as much as I used to, but the reason I think I was so inspired by literature when I did study it and was reading profusely, was that you talk about authenticity a lot, right? And I feel like classical literature in particular gets at the core of who humans are. They're bad and they're good. And it can be Jane Austen, and I know it's always a happy ending, but it's still getting at something in the way humans behave to each other. And there's something, again, so authentic about what novelists, particularly classic novelists, literature, I would say, rather than like genre. Not that genre can't, because I write genre, but there was something so truthful about the way they expressed humanity, but hid it in a way that made me very entertained. And
Mm.
that is the thing that I think I always strive for, that started from reading great literature that I just couldn't put down.
And it's so important because it teaches us about what not to do, or is it like you just have this kind of fetish for old-timey things, or is it like what is the kind of excitement around history?
Around history, I think it's interesting because my and this is something I should see a therapist about, but my love for history stops at like modern history. As
Uh-huh.
soon as like the 1950s shift in the 60s, I'm like, no, thank you. I'm good. It's like too real. Whereas everything before then, there's a safe distance. The way I think that movies do it, the way that television does it, the way that books do it, there's a distance so that you can safely feel safe looking back on how humanity has made various choices. And it the word teach is almost like it's like too prosaic. I don't like that word because like I don't like something that's didactic is like not my friend. But I absorb, I guess, the sort of way that humans lead their lives in various parts of the world and the way that humans as a whole have thought about things. And guess what? It's all the same. And I think just getting to sort of experience humanity in all of these things in history, in stuff that feels fantastical because it's so distant, so it feels safe again. But still is very helpful for, how I think about the world. Something will
Yeah.
come up in our lives, in our daily lives, and my husband and I will talk about it like, oh, well, it's not like I'll be like, well, 1913, but it's like it reminds me of that thing that happened back then, which is the same
And
old
we
thing that's
got
happening
through it.
now.
Yeah. I was just
And
gonna
yeah,
say, is it any different? Have we
yeah,
learned anything? I mean,
no.
sorry for using the word learned. But 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 like, I mean, are we evolving? Are we are we moving
It feels
backwards?
like not, it feels like not.
Hmm.
It's just because we all react to the same things. Like the way the world is right now in our country in particular, it's like it's not a surprise.
Mm.
Given if you just look around at all of the different aspects that are happening, it feels very familiar to other things that had happened in the past. And um, while it feels shocking that those things have happened, it felt shocking to the people in that time as well. The pieces are all there because humans react to the same fears. And I think history did teach me, to use the terrible T word, it did teach me that everything we do, good and bad, comes from a place of fear. And I think that
Yeah.
to me was really, really, really interesting.
It's
The thing
prime,
I
like
think
we're
about.
still primal, we're still animals, we're still looking at each other as separate, and with our eyes we look like we're separate, so therefore I need to survive and keep my land here and your land there, and yeah. But it's interesting from a spiritual perspective, there's this notion that we have this spiral, right? That we're like going up the spiral and that we get to do it again, but we get a new perspective on it, ideally.
Yeah, ideally. Yeah.
Ideally. Wow. And so there are certain things that are core to you, I'm imagining, that matter to you, that you want to see change in the world. I'm imagining that either consciously or unconsciously goes into the work that you're putting out so that you can start to do your part. What are those core themes that you care about? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it changes over the course of my life, that just in terms of what I am particularly caring about in that phase of my life. Currently it's love, no matter what, just um, despite our differences. My uncle passed away recently, and that generation, my mom's generation, comes from, they're very, very fractured, they're very divided, they're very, very different people. But they all love this man. They all loved him. And to see that it's not like it was perfect. They came together at the hospital and there was fighting, but there was one thing that connected all of them. And it's just like trying to remember that and mine that idea that love connects us all despite our differences. I know it sounds very corny, but there's a
No,
story
I'm
that
getting head chills. It's great.
yeah, there's a story that has stuck with me for many, many years. Um, I, I think this took place in the 70s or so, and I can't even find the article anymore. It's such a bummer. But it was about a black woman at a post office and a white man at a post office, and he was very active in the KKK. And as soon as they were put together, they absolutely, of course, hated each other. But it didn't take very long, working every single day together. They began to get to know each other. What they, who their husband was, who the wife was, the things they loved, the things they hated. They shared the same music taste, whatever that was, that he eventually left the KKK and they became great friends. And there's
Mm.
something so powerful about this that's like it's so obvious. Like
Mm.
to me, it's so obvious. And when I was at the homeless shelter, a big thing that we would do, which again feels so obvious, but no one's doing it, is our shelter was less of a shelter where people come to sleep, but it was more like a coffee house. It was this huge warehouse. It was a coffee house. People could come in, get free coffee, which is kind of, the inciting incident would brought them into the room, but then they could sit and I could just talk to them because what they missed the most down there, what they didn't have the most, was people to talk to.
Mhm.
They had people who would go and feed. They literally have people drive by and just throw lunch bags out. It's very inhumane, but they
Yeah.
never had people to talk to. And the more you talk to them, it did not take long for them to open up to you, to become vulnerable. And that person you thought was just like that crazy homeless guy on the corner, you realize is a father who had gang-related issues, ended up getting out of it, and like has this whole story that is so human and so emotional. And we started changing lives down there because people started to trust you because you would talk to them. It's really that simple. And so those kind of two experiences combined have kind of, I guess, formulated a lot of the themes that I like to write towards. Is kind of getting over that and finding the truth of the thing.
Yeah, like shared humanity, love, that we all have the same fears and needs and wants. We all want to be seen, we all want to be heard, we all want to be known, we all want to feel safe, and kind of dissolving those barriers. I love that. Do you feel like the things that you care about do come through in the final vision? And we'll wrap up. Do you feel that those things come through in the final vision? Have you been successful in getting what you really care about through?
Yes and no. Um, it's never quite as you want it to be
Yeah.
or as you envision in your head. Like that's always the struggle of the writer. I'm sure Jake has this all the time. It's like it's so clear in my head. Why can't I explain it to you? Um, so I think with Tomb Raider, for example, it's definitely like it's poking at the things that I wanted to talk about. It's there. It's not the huge conversation starter I was hoping it would be, just because of the way the process works, I think. Also not directing, right? But yeah, it's always important to me. And what I've learned too, it's so interesting because to me, I thought I would have to sneak in these big ideas and try and trick people, try and trick the big producers and studios. But the truth of the matter is that if you start there, that's actually what makes them so interested in you because you have an opinion. You have that vision, right? You have that core of something that, if you came in and pitched, you'd have a totally different core. So the fact when you start with theme and you start with this, this belief about, love overcome, like if you come in strong with these big ideas, that actually helps them and makes them want to hire you, which is just absolutely the opposite of what I thought it was going to be like.
That's really positive to
It
hear.
is.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So for people that are on their path, their creative path, maybe they're a writer or an aspiring creative of any kind, as someone who's clearly in it, what what's one step? Because you said just do the thing in front of you. What's one step that they could do? I mean, I know this is a general, I'm saying creatives in general,
Hmm.
but what could be one little call to action for them?
It's tough because I have no idea, where anyone is in their experience in their process. But for me, the thing that I see is the biggest hurdle for creatives is just not doing it.
Mm.
Not taking the I want to be a writer. Have you written? Have you written today? For me, I feel a very palpable loss. It's very an emotional feeling when I don't write. And I need vacation time like anyone else, but at about a week is when my body feels like it needs to write. And there's a kind of a common phrase, I guess, or saying in our business that the way to the top is just stick to itiveness. It's really just doing the job day in and day out, whether it's your job or not. That was the hardest thing for me when it wasn't actually my job. But if you want that to be your job, act as if.
Yes.
So for me, it's just doing it, whether it's art, photography, whatever. The more you do it, the more you learn, the more opportunities you somehow manifest just by the act of doing the thing.
Yeah, like clock those 10,000 hours. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, that's what Jake did. It was like 9 to 5. He was,
Yeah.
as soon as he was able to do that, he was doing that and treated it like a real full-time job until it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's dedication and it's consistency no matter what you're doing, whether you're in the healing arts or a writer, it's the consistency to show up. And that was my lesson today. I was overwhelmed. So many
Hmm.
things that I overbooked myself and I was like, oh my gosh, should I reschedule? I wasn't going to reschedule you, but I was like, shoot. But I was like, just show up. Just
Yeah.
show up.
And it always makes me feel better when I show up, even when I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
it's because it just feels right. It's like, yes, I should have been here.
Yeah.
I've recently read a book speaking about this topic of showing up or not, called Essentialism. And highly recommend it to people out there because it, especially when we're talking about like how do I choose the thing that brings me joy and take my life towards the life I want to lead that brings me joy when there's all these other things that I need to deal with. And this book talks about like kind of how you articulated, my process, which is what is the thing that I need to do in front of me right now? And then what are the things that aren't bringing me joy and stressing me out? And how do I eliminate those from my life entirely? And really being um, really serious about that process because the cleaner you can make your sort of life and the thing that's in front of you, the easier it actually becomes.
That's great. Yeah, we get so ingrained in our habits, even if they're not helping us, even if there's not a positive feedback loop, we still are like, well, this is safe because it's what I know.
100%. I totally know that feeling.
Yeah.
And doesn't happen overnight, right? Habits are hard to change, but I think that's also part of the process is knowing it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's so
This was
awesome to
so
talk to you.
fun.
You were right that you do like not abusing me was the right call. I did ease into it.
I held back on some of the adoration just to make you more comfortable.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but I will say because this is the part where I do have to say some loving things because I feel called to that, you're paving the path for other women. Your work, the way that you're showing up consistently, you're showing what success can be to so many people, and it's really important. And yes, like you're doing it for you, but by you putting in the hours and showing up and caring about love and shared humanity, you are making this incredible impact. So it's amazing. And I appreciate you. And thank you for doing the work that you do and for your podcast.
Thank you.
And
You're
I
so
can't,
kind.
oh my gosh, I can't wait to see you directing. I can't wait to see, not that you have to, because you're enough just as you are. Oh my God. You could do one show and it would be enough. But I can't wait to see you living in Oxford or outside of Oxford,
Mhm.
just on horses and
Oh, it sounds amazing.
being a director
Thank you.
outside of
Let's
Oxford,
manifest
riding a
that.
horse with your husband,
Yeah.
like,
You
yes.
just described it. It's perfect.
Well, I appreciate you,
Thank
and
you.
we're hopeful. We're hopeful, Tasha, that you'll be able to join us for the podcast panel coming up.
Yes.
And if not, we totally understand.
No,
But
I would love to try to make it. Yes, absolutely.
though I'm gonna have so much fun having you there. And thank you guys who are listening. Please keep expanding your capacity to feel good. Take that one next step to do the thing that you know you want to do today. That's our call to action. And if they want to listen to your podcast, they can go to the show notes. Thank you guys. Love you so much. See you soon. Bye.
Hey, love, if you've been feeling the call to go deeper, to step into a space where you can truly exhale, release, and reconnect with your soul and just feel held and seen and loved and known and recalibrated, then I would love to invite you to be part of my next Goddess of Light retreat. These retreats are more than just an experience. They are a remembering, a space where you are fully held, where breath becomes a portal to healing and where transformation unfolds in the most beautiful, unexpected ways. If your heart is whispering yes, your soul is calling you, send me a message to get on the waiting list, and I would love to have you there. And if you're hosting a retreat, an event, a gathering, and you feel that my work belongs in your space, let's make it happen. I would be honored to bring Mountain Breathwork infused with Reiki to your circle to create something sacred together. Message me and let's dream it into reality. Your next expansion is waiting. If this episode resonated with you, I have one simple request for you to give yourself a moment to leave a 5-star review and share a few words about what the authentic creative meant to you. Your review isn't just for me, it's for the people out there searching for inspiration, healing, and reminder that they're not alone. Each review helps this podcast reach more souls who need this conversation, these breakthroughs, and this magic. So if this show has uplifted you in any way, expanded you in any way, or sparked something inside of you, pay it forward by rating, reviewing, and sharing it. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being a part of this incredible community. Keep shining.